Hi, welcome back to Wild Speculations. I'm Daniel.
I'm Scott.
Tonight we are once again talking about Critical Role, Campaign 3, Episode 25, A Taste of Tal'Dorei.
Yes.
It's like putting on a comfortable pair of shoes. Yeah, it's like you don't know what you've got till it's gone kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know? Matt has a bit of tripping over his tongue.
Yeah.
In the beginning of the episode.
Forgets Ganassi. Messes him
and the first meaningful interaction of the episode is as they're walking down the street.
Mm-hmm.
And there's another automaton.
Yes.
And both FCG and Imogen both try to interact, interrupt.
Yep.
To no avail. And Laura does her level best to keep us on task.
Yep.
For the whole episode, really.
Yeah.
And Dusk is tempting us away from what we need to do. While also being very cute and reminding us all of the various quests that people have mentioned that she has taken on herself to help them.
Yes.
Which I think is funny. Like, let's go do this thing that has nothing to do with what anyone's doing, but is really fun. But also, aren't I great for reminding you guys what you guys need to do?
We've all had that friend, and if you haven't had that friend, you are that friend.
Fair. Laudna keeps her eye on the blip.
Yeah.
I think she checks it 3 times while they're at the table.
But I get the feeling that it's not exactly like, because I get the impression that it's like general location from you. Like that way.
Yeah.
Not like in this. So if it's like off the thing and it's just like he, well, I mean,
if he's continuing to travel in the same direction, yeah.
She's like, well, it hasn't moved. It's still pointing the same way, so we're good. He hasn't done anything. No, he's got another 2 hours on you now.
Yeah. I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, that's fair.
I was thinking that the whole time. But we got time for a bite.
I mean, everybody's got to eat.
And I think cheesy theme restaurants are like Mauritius jam. She was so excited about that restaurant.
I mean, I don't know. They all like Ren Fair. So, medieval times, they've all... I think I remember them speaking about going.
Yeah.
And Matt's narration was informed.
Yeah.
I think that's fair to say. We get a reenactment of
Tal'Dorei.
Yep, the formation of the sovereign, who Uriel is a descendant of.
Yep.
The next big reveal, the next big moment in the episode, which was also sort of like, oh yeah, this is what we missed. Is Dusk revealing her connection to Fern's parents?
Yep.
Via a locket, and Matt saying, "None of you recognize him except you."
The parents Calloway.
It's so nice to get an Ashley arc early.
Yeah.
Like, that's one of the things that sort of kept occurring to me.
Because they were either late or squeezed in and never fully explored because of, blind spot, sight?
Blind spot.
Spot, yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever the show was.
So, Fern mentioned Aor.
Mm-hmm.
Previously when talking about her parents.
Yep.
And in this episode, when she's talking about how long it's been, she says 90 years? And all I could think about was Star Trek II. If we go by the book, hours would seem like days. Years are decades.
Yeah.
I think. Because that would be 900 years. Which is interesting information given what we saw in Calamity.
Yeah.
Vis-a-vis the Queen of the Sealy Court calling all of her Fae home. And we got confirmation that Fern is of the Sealy Court.
Yep.
Do you think that she's playing up her importance?
Oh, yeah. My parents, you can certainly call me that.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I'll take the attention and the praise. I'm not going to dissuade you of the notion if you want to believe me a princess.
Yeah. Because I just kept thinking, it's like, because to be a member of a court is not the same as we would say that we, in the human world,
yes.
If you're a member of a court, you're a courtier, you're nobility.
Yeah, you have some kind of title.
Yeah. In the Fae realm, it's probably where you live.
Yeah. It's probably like American we're skinny.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, it's interesting that the Nightmare King we know is familiar with the Callaways.
Yeah.
But I don't think that necessarily means anything, that their family is super important.
Right.
Just that it's another family that has cross-planar interests. And, of course, this Fae that also has cross-planar interests is going to have some connection to them or knowledge of.
Yeah.
Orem asks to touch it. Dusk, her sword. And she lets him. Which I thought was funny. I'm still not 100% sure how to read that scene, that interaction.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I don't know if he was jealous of her sword Or
I don't think so. I didn't get that.
Like I say, I'm not saying I got that. That's just one of the myriad of things that crossed my mind.
Fair.
But Laudna first talks up Imogen and then volunteers her to dig through Dusk's mind.
Mm-hmm.
And which I think would be a fruitless effort.
Yeah.
And I loved Taliesin is such the supportive cast member this episode. He just kept setting everybody up. And oh yeah, you're gonna love it. It's, yeah. I loved his whole like Yelp review of the process of having your mind scrubbed through.
Yeah.
1 out of 5 stars. Would do it again. But after the reveal and the discussion about the Callaways, Imogen instead shifts the conversation of "I'm going to dig through your brain" to, now that I've seen them and I have a name, I think I can send them a message.
Yeah.
And there's a flurry of excitement at the prospect of that. And the difference between Jester and Imogen with sending is hilarious. I love it so much. And the other thing that is funny is in both campaigns, she has sent messages to people that don't actually know her.
Yeah.
And in both cases, she did not bother to introduce herself.
Yeah. That's the part of the characters that's Laura.
Surely you know me. But yeah, it's funny. But she smartly says, what is something that, if I say to your parents will identify that I for sure am friends with you?
Yeah.
And gets the same kind of thing from Dusk. And then sends another message, beginning with, I'm Imogen Timold.
Yep.
I'm friends with Fern, who is reminding me of
the oval window,
at
or
Grandma's.
the round window at the grandma's,
and the bird, I think.
Yeah.
And Dusk of the Grove. So, getting back to what we were saying about Aor and their potential connection to the Calamity. Matt doing the response where she's yelling like she's on the phone.
Yeah.
I think that's where that comes from. Other than it's a funny sort of Southern trope that you see in movies all the time. Yeah. But they say, we're going to be leaving for there in a few days. will meet at Joe's.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Matt was counting, because I didn't count the words. And I maybe should have on the rewatch at least. But leave it to a Faye, but that's all that the information they give you. It's Joe's place.
Yeah.
Joe who?
Is it like eat at Joe's? Is it?
Yeah. And I was like, I made the eat at Joe's thought in my head, and I was like, oh, meet at Joe's. Close enough.
Yeah.
But they failed their history checks, and there's some trepidation, or are we going to be able to find her parents?
Yeah.
And I, in the moment, as that started to develop, I was like, oh man, what if the time soupiness means that it's not a day or so? How long are they going to wait?
Yeah.
Or was it a day ago and they're late?
Yeah.
But I just kept thinking, is Matt teasing us with the Fern, with the Ashley arc early, but we're not really going to get it?
I think that's going to be dependent on the players. Because we've been teased a lot of arcs at this point.
That's true. Well, I mean as we discussed, Matt has interwoven their backstories way more.
We've been teased Imogens. We've been teased Ashens, FCGs, you know.
Yeah, sorry to bring that up, Rose. I am. But that's all I could think about. Because it seemed like... Because there was a moment when her and Dusk were having their conversation. And I had the thought, oh, it's so nice to have, Ashley early. And then it was like, it hit me, it was like, wait, or does this mean we're near the end?
You send them up for the first TPK.
So, yeah. I was just like, oh. But after their failed history checks, those who could make one, they decide to ask
the 3 and a 4.
Yeah. They decide to ask the help. And the bartender doesn't know, and I think he asked the waitress who played
Zane Tal'Dorei.
Yeah. And she's like, Joe Imahara? The Tinkerer?
Yep. And
as soon as he said Imahara, I was like, Grant?
Yeah, I was like, is this a Mythbusters reference? Do we have Mythbusters Easter eggs going on?
And it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
And I think Grant did have a tangential connection to them. That I'm blanking on right now. But, I mean, they probably would have met him on the con circuit.
I know that there was one episode of Tabletop with Will Wheaton that Marisha and Grant were on the same episode. So she's at least met him through Tabletop.
And yeah. So I'm looking forward to seeing that because it makes so much sense to put a tribute of Grant as an artificer.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if we don't get more info on FCG from him.
I think so. I mean, FCG did. Sam dropped the nugget that we got to do what we got to do, but if we're here, there's people I need to talk to.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know. Almost made me think maybe it isn't a complete mind wipe, you know.
Oh, you mean his memory loss? I mean, maybe.
Or as complete as he's put it forward.
Well, they have indicated that there is a block.
Yeah.
Not necessarily that he can't recall. Like at all. Like ever. Mm-hmm. Just that there's something preventing him from doing so. Odds Sam quotes C3PO from the last movie. Taking one last look at my friends. Probably the best trade Fern has gotten. She gets basically on their way out the door. Mm-hmm. She trades a teacup for the music box.
Yes.
Which she then asks Chetney to engrave with her parents' names. And Chetney makes the noob mistake of carving without confirming the spelling.
Yeah. The alpha's so eager to simp.
Yes. Yes. What should I give you for it? But we'll talk. Yeah. I wonder. Over under on Travis saying something to her parents, insinuating that they're a couple.
Oh yeah, it's gonna happen. Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, 100%.
But the next big
if he doesn't say something indicating that they're together, he's going to probably pull aside and try to get pointers on how to
and seek permission.
Yeah, seek permission.
Yeah. I don't know, Rose, if he goes as far as to call Birdie mom. But
if he insinuates that they're together and they buy it, then yes, it happens.
All right.
If like Fern doesn't dissuade them of the notion immediately, yes, it happens.
I could see him doing the Back to the Future. Daddy-o. I could see that. It's interesting. But yeah, the next big interpersonal moment we have in the episode. And one that we've been waiting 6 weeks to have.
And you called. I thought I was going to chalk it to a wrong.
FCG and Laudna.
Yes.
Getting together, and she comes looking to him for advice.
The interesting thing about that scene, though, is the way that Sam phrased things. Because it was almost as if he doesn't believe Delilah exists as a separate entity. And it's like a coping mechanism. So you had the urge to do this.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't believe Delilah is her own person, and it's just like the part of Laudna that she blames that kind of stuff on.
Which is why
and it goes into, are you jealous of her?
Yeah.
You know, and I was just like, ooh, he's going to start some inter-party drama.
Yeah. Yeah. Same. When he asked that, I was like, ooh, now there's a thought. And of course, she denied it right away. But, like, Sam was on a trolling roll this episode. And he even threw the dig at her, like, her pulse.
Mm-hmm.
Are you jealous of that?
Yeah.
Which, I don't know. I don't know, seems sort of an attack. But she also is sort of calling his existence into question, too.
I don't know that it was an attack. Because attack makes it sound malicious. I think it was more of, like, am I going to get a reaction that's going to tell me that this is what it is? Looking for her response in her body language, her tone, rather than confirm, deny, confirm, deny.
That's fair.
I mean, Sam has said FCG is basically the dime store rookie therapist, bad therapist, you know?
Yeah. Well, I've joked, you know, D&D can be therapeutic, but don't make your DM and fellow players your therapists.
Yeah.
And Sam's the perfect example of that. Especially trolling Laura the way that he was over Imogen's appearance.
Yeah.
And trying to Caleb her with her eyes crossing when she does this.
Nope. My eyes didn't cross and you don't have a flesh tongue. I picked... yeah, that had... you're right, Rose. That had very...
I don't know if it was jealousy.
No, I took it as that. It reminded me of Jester. Early Jester. When someone would do... Well, I can do that too.
Yeah.
Well, I can do that too. You want me to do that?
Huh.
I saw it in the same vein. And it reminded me of, you know...
I didn't think about that.
Almost like Sam was poking fun of how Laura ran Jester in the early campaign. And yes, Snoopy, you did call Orm Imogen, as did I, the last time we talked about it. I had said that Orm was my pick and that for who they should go to.
And Orm getting the release of Imogen being jealous of Dusk.
Yeah.
That this new person comes in and now Aladdin is all about them.
Yeah.
Um,
but we did get clarification that they aren't an item.
Later in the episode, yes.
Yeah.
And I had a Ben Kenobi moment. It's like, it's as if suddenly tens of thousands of shippers cried out in pain and terror.
I'm still holding out for Laudna Ashton.
Dude, that was heavy but subtle in this episode too.
Yeah, it was. I'm holding out for it. Just out of curiosity, what would it be like if you did have enthusiasm? Maybe you'll see.
Yeah. Dude.
I was like, oh yeah, let it happen.
Yeah.
That is my ship for this campaign. Ashton and Laudna.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm probably on that ship too. And of course, Vernon.
Everyone.
Yeah. Well, Chetney. But yes.
I could give her, take or leave that one. It's like, whatever. Although I do love watching Travis from doing nothing with relationships in campaign 1 other than referencing that Scanlan took him to the brothel.
Yeah.
To being an unwilling participant and kind of coast into a relationship to eagerly chasing one in campaign 3.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of easy drama in an actual play, it's easy drama.
Yeah.
For not a lot of effort. But yeah. So the reason I'm pulling for Fern and Chetney is because I'm also pulling for it to end. Because that's something that we've not had.
I'm hoping that it's one of those subplots that just gets left by the wayside and the writers forgot about it. It was just never mentioned again.
Yeah. I loved Taliesin conferring with Matt. Does this count as a short rest? Mostly because we've been talking about short rest the last couple of weeks. In terms of design direction and whether or not the new stuff in 2024 will include short rests at all.
Yeah.
But we find the pawn shop and Dusk goes in to investigate, suggests that he tell her where this guy is. And Matt let it ride because the duration of suggestion is long enough that clarifying questions he allowed to still be under the auspice. Because the suggestion was, tell me about this guy.
Yeah.
And so when she was asking follow-ups where he might not have given that information, he did. Which I thought was an interesting call. But yeah, they find out he's with I didn't write the name of the gang down.
Oh yeah, one of the crawler gangs.
Something call?
Yeah.
Anyway, who Ashton has an invite to join.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, well, you can just pretend. And I loved Taliesin because he knows his character can't lie, and he hasn't played him as such.
Yeah.
And he's like, Paragon's call, thank you, Snoopy. Yes. He's like, no, if I'm going in there and to consider their offer, I'm going in there to consider their offer.
Yeah.
And so they dropped that real quick. But they decide to pick teams to sort of case the joints. And they do it like in gym class, where the captains of the teams are the ones who can cast message.
Yeah.
But they don't actually cast message to each other.
Yeah. Seems about right.
Which is so... Will you tell her that I said? And, she's right. Well, you can tell her that I said. I can hear you! Which, of course, led to the question from Dusk. Outright asking, are you two a thing?
Yeah.
Oh, no. And yes. I was like, haha, I was right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's just a best friends thing.
Yeah. Oh, one of the things that I think we got from Calamity, sort of, tangentially, is that big crawler thing.
Oh, yeah.
Because that, to me, sounded an awful lot like the cat buses.
It was definitely like Mark 6.4 or whatever of those.
Yeah. Yeah. Like a double-decker.
Yeah.
Marisha brought up again that FCG might be a possessed puppet.
Yep.
And I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's what Aormatons were.
No.
I think they were the pinnacle of Automatia and, like, the genuine general intelligence, that we're chasing with AI right now.
Yeah.
I think he's absolutely right. He does not have a soul. I think they're all wrong in encouraging him that he does. No, stupid. I don't think it's even like transferring of consciousness. I think like Warforged are not the transferred consciousness of people.
It's not Robot Man from Doom Patrol.
Yeah. It's more like a Bicentennial Man.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It's all basically programmed. But we get the fortress. And there's something about presenting your players with a fortress or a castle that will engender hours of content. If you want to like do a bit of planning for like 4 sessions, design a castle, put someone or something in it, and leave it up to them how they're going to get it out. Because as we saw, it was like 48 minutes, an hour, something like that.
Close to an hour, yeah.
Of them planning and or the yakety sax infiltration of Fern. Not to say that it was a bad idea, just she rolled badly at every turn. And Matt failed forward for her as much as he could.
Yeah.
But got confirmation that the general is there. Did not get confirmation that Treshy is there.
Right.
I think he's gone.
Oh, yeah. I agree.
In fact, I'm not sure he's alive.
Interesting.
Because all they know is that the person who brought that ring to them was staying with the Paragon's call.
Yeah.
They don't know what he looked like. He or she looked like.
Mm-hmm.
At least I don't remember them confirming in any way that it was Treshy that pawned the ring. Because it could have been Paragon's call killed him because he's no good to them anymore.
Yeah.
And distributed his goodies. And whoever had that took that to get paid. I don't know if that's the case. Because like I was thinking about it. What does he pawn the ring for? Because it's not to get cash. Not really. He doesn't need that. If he's got allies in the Paragon's call. Because he can just have them break into his house, steal everything, and then pay them off a percentage of what they bring back.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't need that much cash right now. Or he pawned the ring to hire thieves to go steal his shit.
Yeah.
And then he'll buy it back when he gets everything back.
Yeah.
And as I was thinking about it, I was like, man, they need to message Esteros and let him know that the ring is not on his finger anymore.
Yeah. Cindy.
Because to me, I mean, either way, you sort of look at it. It's got to be one of those things. He's hired somebody to go steal his stuff, or he's going to have someone steal it, or he's dead.
Yeah.
Imogen could lie her way in and claim to be negotiating on behalf of Ashton. because she was there and was being introduced around as a servant of another lord. Or heck, she could even go in and like lie and say that she wants to negotiate the Squall hiring Paragon's call. So, I mean, they got different ways of getting in. But I think what it's going to come down to is finding a spot and watching the place. And I don't know if the players don't want to do that. Because, like, Liam mentioned it. As, you know, this is how we can do it. And everyone else was like, no, let's steal a crawler and break down the door. The multitude of Sam's bad plans. Which I just put up to Sam trolling everybody.
Yeah.
Because every plan that he presented was worse than the last one. And then he's like, no, I'm fixated on this. Let's steal a thing. Which was kind of funny because I was like, oh, can they go to a place where there's a novel vehicle within hand's reach that they don't try to steal? The Squall Eater,
carpet.
Yeah.
The wagon.
Yeah.
But they'll pay for animals and then leave them to die.
Yeah. 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 Anything else?
Not really.
Do you think because part of me thinks, oh, okay, I do have one more thing.
Okay.
Fern as the
Quokka.
Coca.
Quokka.
And her biting attack and stuff. All of the roles that she was making. This is one of the reasons why I recommend for your druid players to prepare shapes so that you, the DM, have a list. And if they want an animal that there's no stat block, you can make one up. But to my mind, the bite attack should have been at least a +2. And he gave her a +0.
Yeah.
And a lot of the rolls seemed flat. I mean, she didn't roll high enough on most of them for it to matter. But I don't know. I just wanted to mention that. Just for the bit of advice to offer. Do you think Matt will run their casing of the fortress like a skill encounter, a skill challenge, the way we do sometimes? No. You think he'll just let them spin their wheels for another 90 minutes?
That's the normal MO.
Yeah.
Spin your wheels, do what you want, waste your resources. Okay, it's time to go in.
Yeah.
And I think he specifically lets them do that stuff to waste their resources. How much of it are you going to waste before actually executing a plan?
Fair. Do you think Dusk is going to betray them?
No. I think she is going to mess some stuff up as far as party dynamics go. She's already started to. I think she is going to push the tension between Imogen and Laudna. And I still think she is going to be either accompanying them or the reason they go back to the Feywild. They go into the Feywild.
I agree with
Even
Snoopy.
more so since the connection to the Callaways.
I think she's going to betray them. In some way. And I'm not saying it will even be malicious.
The party, no. Maybe one or two individuals, yes. Like if she ends up forming continuing to form a relationship, friendship with Laudna, Imogen may see that as a betrayal. Or if she then takes Imogen's side when she hears Imogen's side, Laudna may take that as a betrayal.
Okay.
She talks to FCG and she goes and says, well, he said this, Those kind of betrayals, maybe, yeah, sure, I can see that. Group betrayal, no.
I did love how both Orem and FCG are like, you need to talk to her.
Yeah. And even Ashton.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Because Laudna and Ashton talked as well.
I forgot about that.
And I love how Marisha intentionally had Laudna misinterpret every piece of advice. Make her happy and keep her safe. Does she want a rock? Should I get her a rock? What kind of sword does she want? A pot holder. Oh, yeah, there's definitely... I know the early favorite is for her to make a connection with Laudna romantically, Rose, but I don't know. I think that might fizzle out, either be spurned and she might go after someone else.
No, I think if anyone, it will be Laudna.
Because I could see the Laudna thing not working out and her getting with Fern, which Chetney could see as a betrayal. Because especially if Fern's willing to go with everybody.
So, while it would be interesting and funny for Dusk and Fern to hook up in some way, I don't think it's going to happen because they've almost got a sibling thing going right now. And I'm not saying it's impossible for that to blossom into something. Just unlikely. Game of Thrones, Star Wars, yeah, I am.
Not where mine was going, but same basic concept. Yeah, okay. I was like, do I say it on air or do I wait till after? Yeah, I could see that. Just pulling a keg.
Does that mean she's going to cause the death of Talison's character?
I was thinking the more keg and bow side of things. But
I mean, you know, so long as we're talking about keg, why not?
Yeah, no.
Or does Taliesin get a reprieve and Travis loses another character?
Fair.
Because if we're talking about a betrayal in the Feywild, it has to do with Callaways and stuff, and Dusk and Chetney, you know, interacting and bad stuff possibly happening.
And we don't know all her experiences in the Feywild. She could have had a bad experience with werewolves, and she hasn't seen him turn yet.
It's true.
He's mentioned werewolf.
Oh, that was funny. Travis keeps bringing up, or we could seek allies with the Gorgini. The Gorgini are nearby. And then finally, Matt's like, well, they're nearer than they were. He had to give him the Grover. Near. Far.
Near. Love Grover.
But yeah, Travis. Oh. You know, there is a little bit of Josh in Chetney from Being Human.
Yeah. Yeah, there is.
So I wonder if that line of tragedy will come up. Because Fern already joked about getting scratched.
Yeah.
But I don't know if lycanthropy will affect a Fae. Because it was the forest of them in the Feywild.
Yeah.
That we ran into in Campaign 1. But it didn't seem like the Fae were afraid of them or anything.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Oh, also interesting, and I think it was just off the cuff, Erica being Erica, talking about, I love the theater. And I was like, does she? Just a bit of Artagan.
Yeah.
At the table, do you? And getting back to, she doesn't remember her time in the Fae then. Yeah. Because we were told by Matt that what happens at the theater is not a good thing. So, yeah. But at any rate, I imagine this week we will get infiltration, heist,
shenanigans.
I assume they will find out what has happened to Treshy. I don't think they're going to get him.
If he is dead, yes. if he isn't, they'll just get another lead.
Yeah. Anyway, until next week, everybody. Take care of yourselves and each other.
Yes.